I'll never forget the exact moment everything began. It was so ordinary, until it wasn't. I was sitting on the couch with my son, Liam, scrolling through the photos I'd taken earlier that day. Just a normal father-son afternoon. Smiling selfies, a messy living room. The kind of pictures you take just to capture the simplicity of being alive. But then Liam grabbed my wrist with a sudden tightness that startled me. "Dad." "Who's that?" His voice was soft, unsure. I looked at the screen. At us. Us. Just us. Us. "There's no one there, buddy," I said, trying to sound casual. Liam's small finger tapped the middle of the photo, again right between my shoulder and the cabinet, and then his face changed. Shulo. His eyes watered. "He's looking right at you," he whispered. My entire body went cold, because my son wasn't the type to make things up. Not like this. And the fear in his voice wasn't the kind that kids use to get attention. It was the kind that comes from seeing something you're not supposed to see. And that was the moment everything in my life shifted. Short pause. By the way, before I dive deeper into what happened, if you like real stories that keep you up at night, make sure to subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to follow this one to the end, because I wish someone had warned me before things got worse. That night, I put Liam to bed early. He clung to me longer than usual. He kept glancing over my shoulder, like he expected someone to be standing there. I tried to shake it off. Kids see shapes and shadows all the time, right? Their imaginations run wild. But at 2:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of little footsteps padding across the hallway. I opened my eyes just as Liam burst into my room, trembling, his face pale as chalk. "Dad!" He left the picture. I sat up, disoriented. "What do you mean?" "He's in my room." Any parent knows the difference between a nightmare and real fear. This was real fear. I followed him to his room. Nothing, no one. I checked the corners, behind the curtains, even the closet. All clear. But the air felt wrong-heavy, charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm. "Where did you see him?" I asked, gently. Liam pointed toward the darkest corner of the room, right next to the dresser, right where the shadows gathered and refused to move. I felt something then. A pressure. A presence. A presence, like someone had just stepped back, just out of sight. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, after dropping Liam at school, I opened the photo again. I zoomed in, pixel by pixel, even though I expected nothing. But that's when I saw it. Not a face, not a person. A shape blurred, dark, tall enough to be standing right behind me, like a smear of shadow that didn't belong to anything in the room. But here's the thing. When I checked the photos info, it showed it had been updated at 3:04 a.m. while I was asleep. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. This wasn't a glitch. It wasn't Liam's imagination. Someone, something, had changed that photo, and it was getting closer. I didn't know it yet, but that was just the first step. The first sign. Because whatever Liam had seen, whatever had stared at me from inside that picture, it wasn't done with us. I spent the entire morning trying to convince myself I was overreacting. Sleeplessness can make anything look sinister. Maybe the app had glitched. Maybe my mind was filling in the blanks after Liam's reaction. But something kept gnawing at me. At 11:42 a.m., while I was at work, my phone buzzed with a notification. "New memory added to your album." I hadn't taken a single picture that day. I opened the photo. Same living room. Same angle. But this time the figure wasn't blurred. I couldn't see a face yet, but the shape of a shoulder, a portion of a neck, and something resembling a coat sleeve were now visible behind me. My breath caught. The message was clear. This thing wasn't just appearing, it was revealing itself. I locked my phone and whispered, "What the hell is happening?" A coworker asked if I was okay, but what was I supposed to say? Yeah, just being stalked by a man who only exists in photos. Totally fine. I left early. When I picked up Liam from school, his teacher pulled me aside. "Is everything all right at home?" she asked gently. I froze. "Why?" "Liam drew something today. A man. Very tall. No face. Standing behind you. He told the class his friend from the photodocent. Like when you sleep." A chill ran through me so violently it almost made me dizzy. I took the drawing. It was crude, drawn with a child's uncertain hand, but unmistakable. A dark figure, towering behind a smaller figure, and on the corner of the paper, in shaky letters, "He watches Dad." I crouched to Liam's level. "Buddy, why did you draw this?" He looked at the floor. "Because he told me to." I swallowed hard. "Told you?" "Who?" He pointed behind me. I turned so fast I nearly lost my balance. No one. Nothing. But even after the teacher said goodbye, even after we walked to the car, I could feel it. Something was walking behind us. That Vinny and I decided to run a simple test. I sat on the couch, held the phone up, and took a photo of the empty hallway. Just a hallway. But as the photo processed, Liam, who had been coloring on the floor, looked up, his face draining of color. "Dad, don't look at it." My stomach dropped. I looked anyway. In the very back of the hallway, behind the corner where the light didn't quite reach, there he was, a man-shaped silhouette. Closer than before, leaning forward as if he were trying to step into the frame. What made it worse was that the shadow didn't match the lighting in the room. It didn't bend or fall like a normal shadow. It stood upright, solid, like it belonged to something physically there. My hands started shaking. This wasn't a hallucination. Not a glitch. Not imagination. Something was in my house. That's when I made my first serious mistake. I deleted the photo, hoping that would make the problem disappear. If I had known then what I know now, I would have smashed the phone instead. Later that night, Liam refused to sleep alone. He curled up beside me on the couch while we watched cartoons, trying to distract ourselves. At some point I must have dozed off, because when I opened my eyes, the house was silent and dark. But Liam wasn't asleep. He was sitting upright, staring toward the hallway. "Dad," he whispered. Moved?" I followed his gaze. And for the first time since all this started, Primera IE Italiano, a soft creaking, slow, mea sud, like someone taking a careful step on the wooden floor. Creak, pause, creak, from the hallway. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echo in my ears. I stood up slowly, trying not to make noise. "Stay behind me," I whispered. But Liam shook his head. "No. He's not in the hallway anymore." Every hair on my arm stood up as I forced myself to ask. "Then, where is he?" Liam lifted his arm and pointed directly behind me. I didn't turn around. Primera could end. Every instinct in my body screamed that whatever was standing there wanted me to look. That if I did, it would change everything. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't about the photos anymore. This thing wanted me. Before I continue, if you're still here, breathing heavy, heart racing, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what happened next. It only gets darker from here. I didn't turn around. Every instinct, every primal warning inside my chest told me that if I turned, if I even glanced over my shoulder, something irreversible would happen. My mouth felt dry as sand. My legs vibrated with adrenaline. The back of my neck prickled like static. "Liam," I whispered carefully. "What? What is he doing?" My son's breath trembled. "He's just watching you." My skin pulled tight against my bones. "Is he close?" Liam nodded once. Slow. Terrified. I swallowed hard, fighting the shaking in my voice. Buddy, I need you to walk to your room. Close the door. Don't open it unless I say he grabbed my hand. No, Dad. He doesn't want me to leave. The room felt colder now. Not like a draft, but like something was pulling the warmth out of the air. Liam, I said, forcing my voice low and steady. Listen to me. You're safe. I'm right here. Go. Something in my tone must have convinced him, because he finally took a step backward. Then another, and then he ran heels, hitting the floor in rapid little slaps until I heard his door slam shut. And then silence. I exhaled slowly, and only then did I turn my head. Not fully. Shuth in oak. Hust in a hook. Enough to see the hallway. Empty. But I knew deep down, bone deep, that he had been there. Standing inches behind me, close enough to breathe on my neck. I locked every door and left every light on for the rest of the night. But he didn't need doors or light. And I would learn that very soon. The next morning I woke up to something strange. Not a sound. Not a movement. A poto. A brand new one sitting in my gallery. Taken at 3:06 a.m. I hadn't touched my phone. I hadn't even been near it. With shaking fingers, I opened it. I immediately recognized the angle. It was the couch. The living room. Me slipping with my head tilted back. But the worst part wasn't that the photo had been taken while I slept. The worst part was what stood right behind me. A figure. Tall. Solid. Not a blur. Not a smudge. A man. I could see the outline of a jaw now sharp. Unnatural. I could see his posture slightly forward, as if leaning over me. And I could see something else too. His hand. Resting on the top of the couch. Inches from my head. I dropped the phone, heart hammering against my ribs. No, 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 I whispered, pacing. I needed answers. I needed something to feel, real something to hold on to. So I grabbed my laptop and started digging into the house's history. Property, records, newspaper, articles, old forums, anything. And that's when I found the name, Daniel Ward. A man who had lived in the house years before I bought it. A man who had vanished without a trace. A man whose last known photo included a strange, shadowy figure standing behind him, in the exact same corner of the living room where mine appeared. Police reports said he had complained for months about a presence and someone following him at night. He'd told neighbors that the figure appeared in his pictures always closer, always clear until he became too afraid to sleep. The final line of the report made my stomach twist. Last communication. He's almost here. That was it. No follow-up, no recovery. Case closed. I slammed the laptop shut. This thing, whatever it was repeating the same pattern, and I had walked right into it. That night I didn't want to sleep. Couldn't sleep. But exhaustion eventually dragged my eyes closed. I wasn't out for more than 15 minutes when a sound cut through the quiet. Click. 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 A camera shutter. My camera shutter. I bolted upright, chest heaving, and then my phone buzzed. A notification. New photo added. My hands shook violently as I picked it up. In the photo. I was asleep, and the man, the figure, was right beside me, not behind. Not in the shadows. Beside me. Sitting, head tilted toward mine like he was listening for my breath. His form was almost completely visible now. A long coat, hollow cheeks. Dark, sunken eyes, and his mouth, a slight, crooked smile. My blood went ice cold. Something was escalating. Something was accelerating. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was approaching. Claiming space. Taking shape. This thing was becoming real. And he wasn't done. Not by a long shot. If you're still following this, don't forget to subscribe. You're gonna want to see where this goes, because the next part is when everything began to unravel, and when I realized something far worse. He wasn't just haunting the house, he was haunting me. I didn't tell Liam about the new photo. I couldn't. How do you explain to a child that something you can't fight, something you can't even understand? He's sitting beside you while you sleep. But kids know. They all we know. That morning, Liam barely touched his cereal. He kept glancing around the room, eyes darting two corners, doorways, empty spaces that didn't feel empty anymore. At one point he whispered, "Dad, did he talk to you last night?" My throat tightened. "No," I said softly. "Why?" Liam didn't answer. He just looked at the hallway again, long and hollow like a tunnel leading somewhere you shouldn't go. And then he said something that made my blood run cold. He was whispering your name. I froze. He said he needs you to see him. I set the cereal bowl down with shaking hands. "Liam, what do you mean, see him?" He shrugged with a kind of helpless fear no child should ever carry. He says he's almost ready. That was the moment I knew running wasn't an option. Whatever this thing was, it had chosen us, chosen me, and it wasn't going to stop. But I needed answers. Real ones, so I found the name again. Daniel Ward. Daniel Ward. The man who had vanished. The man with the shadow figure behind him. I searched for hours, looking for anyone who knew him. Family, friends, co-workers, anyone who might talk. Finally, buried in a decade-old community forum, I found a post by a woman named Rachel W. If anyone knows what happened to Daniel, please contact me. I don't believe he just ran away. Something was happening in that house. He kept telling me he was being watched. My heart pounded. I sent her a message. I didn't expect an answer, but 15 minutes later, she replied. We met in a coffee shop on the other side of town. Rachel looked tired, older than her photos, like grief had carved lines into her face that wouldn't fade. "You said you live in his old house?" she asked. I nodded. She exhaled, rubbing her temples. I begged him to move. He said he couldn't, that whatever was there wouldn't let him go. I felt a cold spike of dread. What was he seeing? Rachel swallowed. Not what? Who? She slid her phone across the table. Photo. Daniel in the living room. My living room. A tall, shadowy figure standing behind him. Identical angle. Identical positioning. Even the same distorted blur where the face should have been. I felt my vision tighten. It always started the same way, Rachel continued. Little things, changes in photos, footsteps, whispers. My heart hammered. How did it end? I asked quietly. Rachel looked away. The night before he disappeared, he left me a voicemail. He sounded terrified. He said the figure wasn't in the photos anymore. Why not? She lowered her voice. Because it didn't need them. It was standing in the room with him. My stomach twisted. Did he ever tell you what the figure wanted? She hesitated. Then she whispered. He said it wanted to replace him. A cold sweat broke across my skin. Replace him? What does that mean? I asked. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I don't know, but he said it was getting more real. More solid, like it was becoming him. She leaned in closer. James, listen to me. That thing doesn't appear to random people. It chooses them, and once it does, it won't stop until her voice broke, until the person is gone. I stared at the table, unable to breathe. Gone, like Daniel, like others I probably didn't know about. Is there any way to stop it? I whispered. Rachel shook her head slowly. No, not once it's fully formed. I felt my chest collapse inward. Fully formed. The man in the latest photo, he was almost complete. That night I tried not to sleep, but exhaustion doesn't negotiate. At some point, my eyes closed, and I woke to the sound of breathing. Not mine. Deep, slow, wet breaths. I froze, muscles locking one by one. I didn't move. I didn't blink. The breathing was right beside me, right at my ear. Then click. A camera shutter. Not from my phone, from the dark. Another click. Another. Like someone was taking photos of me. From inches away, my heartbeat rattled inside my ribs. Very slowly, I turned my head toward the sound and saw a faint outline. Tall, leaning over me. Watching. Only this time, I saw the eyes. Not blurry. Not hollow. Focused. Staring directly into mine, and then, in a voice that didn't sound human, didn't sound alive, it whispered, almost. I jerked backwards so hard I fell off the couch. The shape vanished the moment my body hit the floor, like it had sunk back into the dark. I scrambled up, gasping, searching the room, flipping on lights with shaking hands. Nothing. Just silence. A silence that felt aware. My phone buzzed. A new photo, taken at 3:11 a.m. With dread crawling up my spine, I opened it. The picture was of me lying on the couch exactly as I'd been moments ago, but this time the figure was no longer leaning over me. He was kneeling beside me like someone watching a sleeping child. His face inches from mine, his smile wider, more defined, almost proud. I threw the phone onto the table like it had burned me. He wasn't just appearing. He wasn't just forming. He was practicing, trying out positions, studying me, preparing. The realization hit me with a nauseating weight. He was rehearsing something. I rushed into Liam's room. He was awake wide, awake sitting upright in bed as though he'd been waiting for me. "Dad," he whispered. He said he's ready now. A tremor ran through my whole body. Ready for what? Liam didn't answer. Instead, he pointed behind me. I spun around so fast, my vision blurred, but again nothing. The space was empty. I grabbed Liam's backpack, shoved clothes inside, and picked him up. "We're leaving right now." He didn't fight me. He didn't ask why. He just clung to my neck, trembling. We drove. No destination. No plan. Just distance. Miles and miles of distance between us and that house. But distance didn't matter. Not to him. At 4:03 a.m., as we parked in a deserted 24-hour gas station, my phone buzzed again. A new photo. This one wasn't taken at the house. It wasn't taken while I slept. It was taken inside the car. My breath left my body in a broken, ragged gasp. In the picture, Liam and I were sitting exactly as we were. That moment, him in the back seat, me in the driver's seat. But the figure, he was sitting in the passenger seat, facing me, closer than ever. His features almost complete now. A gaunt face. Sharp cheekbones. Eyes too deep and too dark to belong to anything human. And that smile, that same crooked, knowing smile, stretched across his face, as if he were savoring something, claiming something. I slammed the phone onto the dashboard and yelled into the empty car. "What do you want?" The car answered with silence. "But Liam, didn't he? He wants your place," he whispered. My skin went cold. "My place?" Liam nodded. "He said you took it from him." My pulse thudded painfully in my ears. What did I take? Liam's voice was almost inaudible. "Your life." I stared at him, confused, breathless. "What does that mean?" He shook his head, tears filling his eyes. "He won't tell me." He only sighed. It's his turn now. A sickening thought wormed its way into my mind. What if the figure didn't just choose people? What if it replaced them? Took their face. Took their place. Took their life. Just like Rachel said happened to Daniel. just like Liam's drawing, the tall figure standing behind me. As if waiting for permission to step forward, my chest tightened painfully. "No," I muttered. "No, I'm not letting him. I'm not." I stopped, because Liam's eyes suddenly widened. He stared at the rearview mirror. "Dad?" he whispered. "He's here." I didn't look. Primera? Couldn't. Something in me knew. If I looked into that mirror and saw him, saw how close he really was, I wouldn't come back from it. Instead, I turned the key, slammed my foot on the gas, and tore out of the parking lot. Liam gripped my arm. "Daddy's." Following the car. I risked a single glance in the mirror, and what I saw made my blood freeze solid. He wasn't running. He wasn't walking. He was standing perfectly still on the side of the road, but somehow getting closer, like he was sliding through space without moving at all. Like distance didn't exist for him. I floored the accelerator, my heart pounding so violently I thought it would burst. But deep down I knew running wouldn't save us. Not from him. Not from something that existed in every picture, every reflection, every shadow. Not from something that was becoming more solid each time we saw him. More real. More here. And if he was almost ready, then there was only one question left. Ready for what? I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, that figure with the stretched shadow body and the face made of static. Staring. Waiting. Patient like something that had been watching generations long before me. Morning didn't bring relief. It brought silence. A silence so thick it felt like the house itself was holding its breath. Ethan didn't come out of his room for breakfast. When I knocked on his door, he answered with a flat voice. "Dad." He's standing by the window. "Don't come in." My chest tightened. "Ethan, look at me. Is he still talking to you?" "He doesn't talk. He shows things. He showed me. You." My blood froze. "What do you mean he showed to me?" He took a long time before answering. "He showed me your face outside the window last night, but you were inside with me. I felt like the floor dropped out under my feet. He wasn't just haunting my house. He was copying me, imitating me, trying to replace me." Something inside me snapped. I'm not proud of this moment. But fear and instinct pushed me harder than reason ever could. I threw open Ethan's door, but nothing was there. No figure. No shadow. Just Ethan curled up, pale eyes, wide and tired. He looked at me like he didn't know if I was the real one. He whispered, "Are you? You?" I knelt in front of him and held his hands. "It's me, buddy, I promise." But even I wasn't sure anymore. Around noon, I went to the living room and grabbed the framed picture, the one that started all this. The glass was cold. Too cold, like it had been kept inside a freezer. When I tilted it under the light, I noticed something new, something impossible. The background of the photo had changed. The kitchen tiles behind Ethan and me. They were warped now, bent inward, as if the room had been pulled through a lens, and in the distortion, the figure that thing was closer than before, not behind us. Not BC Deus, but leaning over my shoulder. Its face was almost touching mine. I dropped the frame so fast it shattered on the ground. My hands were shaking. I didn't want to touch the picture again, but something told me to pick it up to confirm the nightmare. When I lifted the photo from the broken glass, I felt the same static warmth Rebecca once told me about. A heat that wasn't heat. A vibration that wasn't sound. That's when I realized something terrifying. The figure wasn't trapped in the photo. It was using the photo as a door. Ethan stayed behind me as I inspected the hallway. We both stopped when we reached the wall near the attic pull string. Long, thin stretches maybe 5 ran down the wall. Fresh, like fingernails dragging across wood, but they weren't made by fingers. They were too narrow, too precise. "Almost like Dad," Ethan whispered. "They matched the shape of his hands." I swallowed hard. I didn't want to turn around. I didn't want to see him, but Ethan pointed to the ceiling. He's up there. The attic, of course. That cold space. That cold space. Rebecca. The one place I never bothered to check. I gripped the string, pulled it down. The ladder creaked open slow, metallic, almost groaning like something was pushing back against it. Dust floated through a single cracked window, catching slices of afternoon light. Old boxers, Christmas decorations, baby clothes Ethan had outgrown, and one thing that didn't belong. A second picture frame. My picture frame, the same one I had just picked up downstairs. Except it wasn't broken. Ethan stopped on the ladder halfway up, breathing fast. Dad, that's not your frame. That's his. I stepped closer to it, heart pounding. The closer I got, the more wrong the air felt bending, humming faintly, like static forming a shape. Inside the frame was a photo I didn't remember taking. It was me, standing in the doorway of Ethan's room. Behind me, my shadow wasn't mine. It stretched too long, too tall, and it had hands. 2, 4, maybe 6. They reached toward Ethan's bed. I felt something behind me. A shift in the air, a coldness spreading across my spine like someone dragging a finger down my back. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Frozen, I stared forward as Ethan whispered behind me. Dad, he's right behind you. I had one rule throughout all of this. Don't look at him directly. But rules only matter until the moment they break. Slowly, painfully, I turned around, and I saw him. Really saw him. And I wish I never had. Ispariwasen. Teammate of flesh. It was made of stretched negative space dark, grainy, shifting like burned film or melted shadows. His limbs were long, bending wrong, folding in on themselves. His face was the worst part. Not a face, just a smear of static and darkness, trying to copy expression. Failing. Trying again. He learned by watching. He learned us. Yamiz. My name came out, distorted, like a voice filtered through a broken speaker. I stumbled back, knocking over boxers, grabbing Ethan, and pulling him down the ladder as fast as I could. The attic door slammed shut above us by itself. But the scratches continued down the walls. Closer. Coming for us. We locked ourselves in my bedroom, pushing a dresser against the door. Ethan curled into my chest, shaking. Dad, he doesn't want to hurt us, he whispered. He wants to take our place. That was worse. Much worse. Why us? I asked. Ethan looked up at me with eyes too old for his age. He said, because we're easy to copy. My breath caught. What does that mean? He said. We look at ourselves more in screens than we do in mirrors. And suddenly, it made sense. The photos, the videos, the reflections. He wasn't haunting us. He was studying us, copying us, replacing the original with the version he made. And the door to portal to access point was every photo of us, including the hundreds on my phone. I pulled it out, hands trembling, and my stomach dropped. Every photo I opened had him in it now. Closer, clearer, more defined. The last one made my blood run cold. A picture taken without me touching the phone. Timestamp. 2 minutes ago, it was Ethan and me, sleeping. In my bed. But we weren't sleeping. We were dead. My voice shook. Ethan, do you trust me? Yes. Good. Because if anything happens to me, if anything happens to us, people need to know. This isn't a story, and they need to follow it. He swallowed hard. Follow what? Tell them to subscribe. to stay watching, to pay attention. Because this thing, it spreads through what we see, through what we ignore, through what we think is harmless. I looked directly into the camera of my phone. If you're hearing this, subscribe. Stay here. Don't look away. Don't let him in. The scratching on the door stopped. Not slowly, not gradually. Just stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the noise, almost like the house was waiting with him, holding its breath. Preparin. Preparin. Ethan and I sat pressed against the dresser we'd shoved in front of the bedroom door, listening to the quiet. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear my pulse in my ears. "Dad," Ethan whispered. "He's not outside the door anymore." "How do you know?" He didn't answer with words. He lifted a trembling finger and pointed to the mirror. The tall mirror across my room was fogging up from the inside, as if someone were breathing behind the glass. A shape pressed forward from the other side. A head, shoulders, arms far too long to be human. I grabbed Ethan's arm. "Don't look at it." But Ethan shook his head. "Dad, he's not coming for me. He wants you." The fog spread across the glass until the whole mirror was a blurred, breathing shape, and faintly scratched by an unseen hand a message formed on the inside of the mirror. "I am you." My stomach twisted. My grip on Ethan tightened. "No," I whispered. "Not today." The mirror didn't shatter it. Pale lid open, like the surface of the glass had turned to liquid, and something inside was pressing through. The figure stepped out slowly, emerging from the reflection like it had been waiting years for this moment. Its movements mirrored mine. Tilted head, raised hand, breathing if you can call that sound breathing. It was practicing, perfecting, replacing. "James," it said, but this time its voice was deeper, closer to mine and more accurate. Ethan buried his face in my shoulder. "Dad, he's almost done copying you." My mouth went dry. "What happens when he's finished?" Ethan whispered the answer, like he already knew. "Then you disappear." My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification. I shouldn't have checked it. He knew that. But fear makes people do stupid things. I pulled it out, hands shaking. It was a new photo, taken 2 seconds ago. A picture of me. Except, not me. The figure stood in my place, holding the phone, smiling with a mouth it had never had before. And worse, Ethan wasn't in the picture. He was gone, just the creature and my empty room behind it. My breath caught. That was its message. Its promise. Its warning. The creature took one slow step closer. Then another. Its skin or whatever passed, for skin shifted, reshaped, corrected itself. Its height shortened. Its shoulders broadened. Its jawline edged into something painfully familiar. Mine, it was wearing my face. Wrong. Like a mask that didn't quite fit, I backed up with Ethan behind me until we were pressed against the wall. The space between us and the figure shrank, until I could feel the static heat radiating off its shape. When it spoke again, it didn't sound broken. It didn't sound distorted. It sounded exactly like me. "You're tired, James. You're fading. Let me take it from here." I clenched my fists. "You can't replace me." A twisted smile spread across its stolen face. "I already have." The moment it said that, something made a soft sound behind us. A photo fell from the wall. One of the old ones, Ethan, as a toddler, laughing in my arms. The creature turned its head toward it. Static crackled through the room. The picture twitched on the floor, literally twitched, like something inside it was moving. I realized then, it doesn't just watch us through photos. It lives in them. It jumps between them, moves through them, builds itself from them. And if I wanted to stop it, I had to destroy its doorway. All of them. I grabbed the fallen photo, tore it in half, and threw the pieces across the room. The creature screamed a high, glitching, broken sound that rattled the air like a speaker pushed past its limit. The edges of its stolen face warped, cracking like melting plastic. Ethan jumped up beside me. "Dad, the pictures destroy the pictures." I nodded. "Help me." We ran through the room, ripping frames off the walls, tearing photos, snapping glass. Every time another photo ripped, the creature recalled losing shape, losing clarity, losing me. It staggered back toward the mirror, limbs bending wrong. Static poured off its body like smoke. "You cannot." "It hace me." Its voice flickered between mine and its own, but we kept going. I grabbed my phone, opened a gallery, selected every photo of the last year. My thumb hovered above delete all. The creature lunged toward me, screaming. I hit delete. Every photo vanished, and the creature fell apart. Its body disintegrated into shadow dust, sucked back toward the mirror, where the glass finally shattered outward in a burst of broken light. The pieces hit the floor. Then silence, real silence. Warm. Human. Safe. Ethan grabbed my arm, breathing hard. "Dad!" "Is it gone?" I looked around the room. No static. No shadows. No figure. "Yeah," I whispered, pulling him close. "I think it's finally gone." The next morning, I boarded up the attic door, threw away every mirror, every photo, every frame, wiped every digital image from every device. Ethan is safe. I'm safe. Our house is quiet again. But sometimes, late at night, when the lights are off and the world is asleep, I hear my phone buzz, and when I check it, I see a notification I never opened. A photo idonti. Remember taking a picture of me, sleeping, with something standing behind me, smiling. If you're listening to this right now, if you made it to the end, do me one favor. Subscribe. Not for me. For yourself, because if anything starts changing in your photos, if any shadow looks too familiar, if anything starts to learn your face, you'll want to know what to do next. You'll want to be here when I upload the next warning.